I don't really watch YouTube videos a whole lot. If I ever do at this point, it's pretty much for a distraction and, nostalgia. Like it's either a video like that got uploaded 10, 15, 20 years ago, or it's something where like I've been doing recently where I've just been watching all sorts of game related shit, uh, you know, living in the nostalgia, like truly just to not have to think about anything else. But what that ends up meaning is that what I talk about ends up being 2, 3 years out of date because that's about how often I'll be in a mood like I've been recently where I'm just watching all the videos, following through the recommendeds and all this other shit. And something I noticed with Half-Life 2 in the last 4 years is that supposedly everyone just figured out that the face on corpse01 is based off of a real image of a dead body. And what's weird to me is they act like it was like brand new information just discovered, and worst of all, they even say it was discovered like in the last few years because they all refer to articles that have been, in the last few years. And it's retarded because it's like, nah, like I recognize it was from a real image in 2004. Like I'd already, like the day one that the game was new, I recognized that. And I had seen the image before the game was released. Now, the myth you hear is that Valve got it from a medical textbook. Maybe they did. I doubt it, though. I started looking at Rotten.com and, charonboat in 2003. My guess would be they got it from there or some other shock site. And since I had seen it like minimum 2003 or at the very least before the game came out, they had more than enough time to get the image from there. But I don't know why everyone thinks that's like brand new info. But part of what I've been seeing a lot of is, I have mentioned it, like some of the ways that Half-Life 2 is spooky. And I think maybe that's part of the creepypasta shit. There's definitely the appeal of that, but the idea that they just discovered this is just flat out not true. It's been known about for the last 22 years that the game has been out, at least by me. But a lot of the stuff I see is 2, 3 years old probably. One of the things I mentioned in a recent video was this guy that did an actual, what I considered analysis video, like a proper analysis video. And, it was based on Half-Life 2, and he was like looking at the, legally available source code. I don't know why you would be worried about that. That's stupid, but, the regular source code you could get with SDK 2013 or whatever the fuck. Well, unfortunately, in the process of researching stuff, because whenever I start mapping again, I'll have to fall back on stuff just to refresh myself. Hold on, how exactly do I do this and that? Because there's shit in the game that frankly doesn't make any sense. Or the editor, rather. There's all these different, it's like info hint is not the same thing as info node hint. And that's not the same thing as like path track versus, I don't know, whatever the fuck. There's 1,000 different ways just to make an NPC move from one place to another. And it's all counterintuitive and there's no reason for it. But it's like the scripting language I used to add in my videos. I'm never going to remember the exact syntax of every fucking function that I use, right? Well, this dude that I had mentioned, which apparently is named Pinsplash, I didn't remember when I first mentioned it because I just watched it. But I've watched a few of his videos. Well, when I was looking at Valve Developer Wiki, something I'll do a lot when I'm looking at wikis is I'll look at the talk page. Something I noticed on one of them, or no, actually it's on his user page itself. It was like multiple paragraphs going back and forth between 3 or 4 different motherfuckers, basically saying, hey, Pinsplash, will you quit fucking up everything? Because apparently he's just doing these mass edits and restructuring every fucking page. And when I seen that, because I hadn't looked at it before, I was like, so that's why the last time I looked at the developer wiki, which, was probably 2, 3 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I had noticed that everything looked a lot different. And apparently everybody was pissed that he was just fucking up everything. So apparently that dude's a dick fuck. And then worst of all, there's this other idiot called Fi Cool, I think. Fi Cool, defending his bitch ass. And they're doing their usual narrative shit of, just blame shifting and all that. But the reality is they're just fucking up the wiki to the point to where uh, I didn't need to see this, but because I'd seen a different video, it made me think about it. So I just wanted to read the page again. Somebody was talking about weird clip brushes used in some of the levels in Half-Life 2. And I indicated to them that actually it was the guy that made the level did a good job with that shit, because setting up ladders in Half-Life 2 is, again, needlessly complicated. And some of the ways that they would handle these kind of like small elevation differences that might otherwise need a ladder is using kind of like micro stairs. And the maximum step height is 16 units in the editor. And so he was talking about one level in Coast, or whatever. It's right before Nova Prospect, the one that's got the cliffside that's obviously a throwback to Half-Life 1. And there's this one part where there's kind of like a secret area with some stuff in it. And the way to get out of it, this dude put these little stairs in front of it. And I mentioned that as I know that's good game design. This dude found a workaround on bullshit of the engine. And it's like, I've made levels a ton of times. It's way easier to just really quick throw something together like that instead of having to try to set up a fucking ladder or whatever. There's also this one kind of pit thing, and there's 2 different levels to the interior of it, or the center of it rather, and they're both, looks to me, 32 unit steps. And the guy was showing there's the kind of like a secret second step for each of them, that you can see if you use R draw clip brushes or whatever the fuck it is. And I mentioned that too. Yeah, he put those steps there to help you get out of it easier. But I mentioned the step height thing being a maximum of 16 units. But because it made me think of that, I know that Valve Developer Wiki had a thing on dimensions, so I decided to read that again. And dude, the page is totally fucked up. Everything about it on there now is just, it's just not correct, or it's phrased weird, and it's nothing like I remember. Well, thankfully on Wayback, there's a version of it from a few years ago, that is like how I remember. And is that Pen Splash fucking with it? I don't know. I would have to check the version history or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised. But something I read, because I was just reading about it, because sometimes I'll double check myself to make sure I get it right. Something I read said the maximum step height was 18 units. I don't remember that being the case. Maybe it is in like maybe Counter-Strike Source or something. I think there is a Source game where the max step height is a little bit taller. But yeah, this revisionist shit they're doing, like, they can't even leave a fucking wiki page alone. And that's on top of them expecting you to want to log in, have accounts to do shit, right? ModDB wants to lock mods for being inactive and stop you from downloading files and shit. Nexus mods want a login wall. Everything that was on there, I used to use that site a ton. But that FiCool idiot that was defending that Pen Splash idiot, yeah, the problem with that is I've been considering trying a separate, like, third-party hammer editor, kind of like Jack, that I've used before to make, gold source maps, because it's basically Worldcraft, but it's closer to hammer, like what I'm used to. And yeah, there was this one like there's multiple like Trench Broom, that's another one. But there's multiple source, third party editors as well. Well, I was looking at this one called Hammer Plus Plus because something that I read claimed that it had a microgrid, so to speak. So supposedly you could make stuff that was on a grid scale smaller than 1 unit, which is funny to think about. So, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, cool, look, Source Engine finally got a feature that MaxEd, the editor for Max Payne 1, had 25 fucking years ago. Nice to see Source Engine finally get that feature, right? Like, I fucked a little bit with MaxEd back in the day, but it was a similar thing for me. It was too different from Hammer Editor, and I mean, that's what I have most of my experience with. But when I was reading about that Hammer Plus Plus, because I was intrigued by that, turns out it's developed by this ass rat named Ficool. And it's like, okay, so he's a psychopath that's going to defend another psychopath and make excuses for all this revisionist shit and like I said, just being a shit rat. It's like, all right, well, fuck him then. Fuck him and his stupid editor. And I don't know. It's just weird to see how much of a non-community shit is. Because, like, if you didn't know better, you would think that if you like the same stuff as someone else, that means you would get along. In practice, it doesn't matter what I've looked at, like this, these fucking pseudo-immunities about music, video games, fucking anything. The most nerdiest, fucking outcast type of shit, motherfuckers act like there's something wrong with me, and it's like these fictional social groups only exist to exclude motherfuckers, not include. It's not about them having a sense of belonging. It's about being able to tell someone else they don't belong. So it's just stupid to me to see, like, even with Half-Life 2, right, or Half-Life 1, or a lot of these other games, I'm like, it's like, what the fuck is in these games that appeals to these motherfuckers? But then I realize that the motherfuckers that made the game don't even have a basis. It's like they just did something compelling by accident. You can see that with Half-Life 2. That, they just get a good formula by accident, but they don't even understand their own point. And that's why you see Half-Life 2. I mean, I was a massive Valve fanboy in the past, but now at least I can understand we're like 15 years now, the Half-Life 2 really wasn't that good. I mean, it's an amazing game, but it's nowhere close to the first one. The same thing with, Max Payne 2. It was a great game, but it totally missed the point of the first game. Every single one of these games, like even they're sort of, copying their own shit, but not understanding why it worked. And it's just duplicating surface characteristics. And I don't really have a point to this video, but, I don't know. It's weird how much motherfuckers are just kind of disclusive like that. And a lot of shit that they'll put out there is just patently false information, or it's very clear they don't understand what they're talking about, like with these fucking analysis videos. Like, fucking, like, every single one of them. 99% of what they say is shit that should be fucking common knowledge. Or it's so stupidly easy to fake. Like, they'll put some fake shit in there, and it's like, the G-man in the window. It's like, well, I mean, I can spawn an NPC G-man and then use int_rotate or whatever it is to make him face the correct direction. So, oh, look, he's totally staring at you through the window. And it's like, stuff like that, where they make these fake spooky videos or just shit that's not actually in the game. Like, it only appeals to people who don't actually understand how games work, or how Source Engine works, or how easy it is to do that stuff. And, these idiots prey on that. And fundamentally, they're monetizing either made up shit, or like they just read the fucking Combine over wiki or whatever. They just want to rob fake money off of saying some shit that was freely available already. I don't know.